All right, in this video, we're going to look at an introduction to arrays of objects. So we learned about arrays. You should be familiar with objects. Now we're going to combine them, and we're going to have an array of a bunch of different related objects. Well, they don't even have to be related. You can have whatever objects you want. But a common data structure is, let's say, I want a list of a bunch of points. Or in the example here, I want to use the canvas, and we're going to have bubbles. Okay, and I want a list of different bubble objects. So the first element in my array is going to be a bubble object with X, Y, R, and color properties. And then the second element in my array will be another bubble object. And then the third element will be another bubble object. And you can have as many bubble objects as you'd like. Okay? So in this case here, nothing really new. We're just combining the skills we already have together. So if I open this up and we go to my bubbles, you'll see, right, it's an array with 3 elements in it. Each element is an object. If I open it up, you can see, oh, at position 0, we've got an object with an X, Y, R color. Position 1, a different object with those properties, etc. Right? So red, green, and blue circles or bubbles. Okay. So the way we access things is just like we did before. There's an array first, so we got to use the index, right, to get the first point or the first bubble. And then you can use dot notation or the square bracket notation with the key inside of it in order to access the object property. All right, so let's see how that looks like with the bubbles here. So I'm going to go down to the drawing section and we'll draw bubble 1. So to do that, we need to begin a path, right? We're going to do a circle here. We'll do the arc command, and we need to look at, well, what do we need to look at? We need to look at bubbles at position 0. Okay, so bubbles at position 0 will get me the first element, which is this object, and then I can access the x property, dot x. Comma, and I'm going to copy and paste this, and bubble 0 dot y, and then bubble 0 dot r, and then we need the 0 to 2 pi to do a full rotation. And that should be the arc, and then we'll go ctx dot, let's do stroke. We'll do these as outline bubbles. And we should set the color first. ctx.stroke style is going to be assigned bubbles at position 0 dot color. Cool. So it's going to use whatever properties are for this variable here, this object, and set the color to red and then draw it at that location. Alrighty. Yeah, let's save this and see what happens. I feel like oh no, I thought I made a mistake somewhere, but there it is. Yay, red bubble. Ta-da. Okay, and then to draw the second bubble, that shouldn't be too hard. We can just copy and paste and change all of these zeros here and hit Control D to select all of those and change them to 1. Awesome. And then that should get me the green circle, or the green bubble here, right? 200, 150, radius is a little bigger, and the blue one's a little smaller. And we draw bubble 2, copy and paste. Forgot the comment, that's fine. Now this is repetitive, there's better ways to do this. Actually, I will show you probably in this video a quick way. Let's go position 2. Right, so position 0 is the first element, position 1, position 2 will get me that object. And then we can access all of the properties and we should get, yay, there's the other one. Okay, now we'll talk about traversing arrays with loops. That's one way to make this better, is that we can just, hey, let's generate a pattern where we loop through 0, 1, 2, right, as many bubbles as we have. But I'm going to suggest one cool feature of using objects that store all these different values in there is maybe we could have a function called draw bubble. And we could have this function go X, Y, R, color, all that kind of stuff, right? And we could copy and paste this code, copy and paste into here, and we could say the stroke style is going to be assigned whatever this color property is. The X, I don't have to do bubbles 2 dot X, we're just going to do that, right? X and Y and R and then stroke. And it's just going to be whatever these parameters are, right? And then when I want to actually draw the bubble, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to say draw bubble, and we'll go bubbles 2.x. Right, the first parameter is the x value, so I pass in the x value. So I can get rid of this too. Bubbles 2.y, bubbles 2.r, and then we also need to pass in bubbles 2.color. Okay, and this will work, right? Let's just get rid of both of these. And I'll just change this to say draw bubbles, and we'll copy, Control C and then Control V that, and we'll change this to 0. And change this one to 1. Should have used Control D, but I'm almost done. Okay, and this just uses the power of functions and say, hey, give me the X, the Y, the R, and the color of these different bubbles, and ta-da, it should work, and yay, it still works. Okay. But what I'm going to suggest is the advantage here is that instead of listing all of these different things here, what we could do in our function is we could say, I just want you to give me a bubble object. I'm just going to call it a bubble, right? And it's going to be a bubble object. And then I'm going to go a bubble dot color, because this bubble object will have a color property. I'm going to go bubble dot x, bubble dot y to access the bubbles x, y, and r properties, and that should be cool. And now when I call the function, this is where the magic happens. I don't need to give it the x, y, and the r. I can just go bubbles at position 0, right? Bubbles at position 0 will be the first element, which will be this object. And this object will get stored inside of this parameter, right? So then I can access its color, x, y, and r properties. Okay, so this is kind of cool, right? When we have these objects like that, you can pass in the object. So you only need a single parameter, but that single parameter has a color, an x, a y, and an r, right? It has all those different properties associated with them. So let's try that. And it still works, yay. Okay, so along the same lines, let's get a little more practice with this. What we could do as well is let's do a function called move bubble. And again, let's have the parameter a bubble. Okay, it'll take in a bubble object. And what I want to do is go a bubble.x plus equals, and I've got my random library set up here. So we could do random decimal or random integer. Let's go random integer between -5 and 6. So it'll either move -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is inclusive, this is exclusive. And I'm just going to copy and paste that, and let's also change the y value by a random integer between -5 and up to 6. Cool. So again, this function will take whatever bubble object is getting passed in, and it'll change its x and y property by a random amount. So in my logic section here, I can go move bubble, and I'll pass in bubbles at position 0. And then let's just copy and paste. And again, we'll talk about loops pretty soon so that we don't have to do all this copying and pasting and we can just traverse. Because what if I had 50 bubbles? I wouldn't want to copy and paste this 50 times. There's a way that we can make that better. But for the focus of this video is just an introduction to arrays of objects. Move bubble, it takes in the first bubble object, the second bubble object, the third bubble object at index 0, 1, and 2. And hopefully, hey, we get them randomly moving around. Goodbye, bubbles. Well, actually, they're staying on the screen. I thought this one was going to leave for a second there. Hey, there it goes. Okay. Anyway, so again, an introduction to arrays of objects. Nothing really new here. We're just saying, hey, let's use this array to have a first, second, third point or third bubble, right? First, second, third bubble. And each bubble is an object. So this is a very common data structure. I hope you get familiar with this. All right. Hope that made sense. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.